Welcome to The Leader's Edge with Jen, where vision meets action. This podcast brings you bold strategies and real insights to sharpen your leadership. Let's get to it and jump right into today's episode.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Knoedl. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I have a very special guest, Erin Coupe. And Erin is the founder of Authentically EC. And Erin's mission is to enrich the human experience in work and life by elevating individuals and companies to a better version of themselves. I absolutely love that. Hello, Erin.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Jen.
Thank you so much for being here. So your bio, your mission statement, that's a mouthful, and even every word is so impactful. Can you kind of let us know how you do that in your own words?
Absolutely. Well, it's funny because other people actually gave me that title years ago, that I enrich the human experience, and so I was like, "There's something
What
there."
a compliment.
Thank you. I thought so too. But I also thought those words were so important and significant to me that I really needed to sort of play on them. But I started this work over 7 years ago and then didn't launch the business until, about a year and a half into it. So in launching the business, I really thought about where is it that I can apply the work I do one-to-one with people that is so enriching for them in a group setting, and where can I apply it more in a corporate setting and then also in a conference setting. So I really sort of took what I was doing one-to-one and then just elevated that to be able to work with more and more people.
Well, that's fantastic. And I would assume that, I mean, just normally when you do work in that group kind of setting, a lot of times you have that synergy of everyone kind of like not feeling like they're all alone. And that
Yeah.
sounds like a fun conference.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny too, because in conferences, if you're attending a breakout session or you're a part of a keynote, a lot of times you don't want to just hear the canned story. You want to hear very emotional, relatable, approachable stories from people that share them authentically. And even more so than that, you want to walk away with actionable tools, right? Like, I know all the years in corporate America where I was taking part in some of those conferences, it was really inspiring and encouraging and motivating to sit through those types of engagements. But I was always like, how does this apply to me? And
Right.
what can I do with it? Right. So that is always like front and center for me, is not only opening people's minds and touching their hearts, but giving them those things that they can go practice.
Yeah. Some very tactical tips there. What is,
Yeah.
I don't know if you could share a high level story, or even generally what do you find that people, because you work with specifically leaders, and so I mean, I see how I just put myself in that, no, but I mean, you're kind of thinking you're supposed to know everything, but I mean, a lot of times I don't, I have analysis paralysis. That's one of my problems. What do you find comes up a lot?
Well, I do so much work with leaders, and a lot of times I think people think of leadership like you're leading people. But in reality, especially in the professional world, in the business world, a lot of times you're leading projects or you're leading client engagements. So it's not just people leaders, right? So it's just business professionals, really, is who we all are. And some of the things that I see is that people get really tripped up in their day-to-day routines. They get tripped up in going through autopilot, just sort of going through the motions,
Absolutely.
waiting for the day to be over so that they can finally relax and let their mind zone out and then go to sleep and wake up and do it all over again. And I know for me, that was one of the biggest catalysts for my own inside out transformation and really doing the inner work to transform my own life, because I didn't like how that felt. I got to that point in my career where I was just like, this is not okay. And this is not enough. And if it's not enough, but yet I've checked all the boxes that society told me to, then what is it that I
Right.
need and what needs to change? And that's
Absolutely.
where
Yeah.
most people get to.
Yeah, you and I touched on that just a little bit the first time that we talked, and it was like, yeah, I would imagine there's an what you're talking about, getting to the root of it and educate, because I think a lot, I'll speak for myself, that you're looking around and it's like, okay, so everyone's miserable. Like, we're okay with this. This is what we're doing now. I mean, it's like, oh, so, but those are old recordings. So, I mean, how do you help people work through that? Because I think we can want something, uh, you can want it, but maybe what they talk about, and I mean, whether it's the law of attraction or how you draw something to yourself. I mean, you can want it, but you're still somehow pushing it away. Can you touch
Right.
on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think what happens a lot of times for people, if you look at something like social media consumption, right? People are being bombarded with information, and you're constantly being told, like, eat this much protein, drink this much water, put this in your water to make it better for you, like, get this much sunlight, don't forget your infrared sauna, like, do your cold plunge, like all these
Yeah,
things.
not
And
that kind of vitamin C.
right. And
I'm
so
like, what?
it's like, I mean, you talk, and I know you and I previously had talked about analysis paralysis, right? But this is like information overload.
Yeah.
It's mental overload. And so the key factor is to realize that you don't have to do more.
Mm,
But what you do have to do is get intentional
yes.
about the things that you fit in that are going to fill you up. That is the game changer. That is how I changed my own life. Because prior to that, telling myself that I could fit certain things in each day that
Hmm.
were good for me, that I wanted to do because they filled me up, they elevated my energy, whatever they did for me, it felt good. And I wanted more of that, right? Prior to making that decision and starting to make these small shifts, whether it was something new that I did or something I removed, but those small intentional shifts, my mindset had been, I'm too busy. I can't fit it in. I have so much on my plate. I am so important. Everyone needs me. I'm obligated to so many things. I'm so responsible for all these people. I've got everyone to please. It was that like martyrdom type of
Sure.
scenario. And God, that didn't serve me. It certainly didn't
Right.
serve anybody in my world, in my sphere, or my circle of influence.
Yeah.
So it was like getting real with myself. It almost was like, it wasn't overnight by any means, but it was like almost
Okay.
like I went from the fixed to the growth mindset. And it was just acknowledging the intentionality that I wanted to start to practice because it meant something to me.
Right. Yeah, because everyone has the same amount of hours in their day.
So
Right.
why fight it, right? Like,
Yeah.
why fight it? It's like,
Right. Right. Well, I mean, you just think it's like, okay, well, people that are making twice as much as me, for instance, they're not working twice as hard because it's impossible. No, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like, must be
working 30
something.
hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think that makes so much sense. But yeah, it's we just it we just have so much in our head, I mean, half the time it's like we don't even realize we're still trying to, please our parents, some of us, or so yeah, like we were talking about, just kind of the recordings or the things that you don't even realize sometimes that you are telling yourself. What are some what are some surprising things, or maybe not surprising so much, but things that you find that you have to keep kind of reminding people about self-talk?
Yeah.
It sounds a little kind of cliche, but it's a thing, right?
It's not cliche at all. I mean, everyone has this wounded voice in their mind. It's called the inner critic, is what we call it a lot of times, right? And there's no one unscathed by that. It's part of the human condition, right? So every human being does have that. Whether they admit it or not is a different story, but it's there. And I always say, we can learn to tame that, but it's never going to go away. So what we have to do is build a relationship with it. And one of the practices that I've used for years and that I talk about a lot in my various engagements, and to give your listeners this strategy, if you name that voice, and people pick some crazy names. I mean, they pick the old boss that was terrible, or, they pick the fifth grade math teacher that they hated, or, whatever makes sense to you, go with it. Mine is named Erica, and that's a beautiful name, but it just felt right to me that it's somewhat close to Erin, but the Erin is my authentic self. It's who I
Okay.
truly am. It's who my spirit is, right? It's the
Hmm.
real me. It's my light, my essence. It's what I embody. Erica is that voice. And it's funny because one of the things about distancing yourself from that voice is that when you're building that relationship, you can kind of tell it to take a seat, that you know what it's trying to do. So I'll say sometimes before I go on stage, there she'll be, and she'll try to mess with me. Oh, don't F this one up, And oh my gosh, like don't get booed off stage. And she'll come up with all these things. And I'll take some deep breaths and I'll say to myself silently, Erica, I know what you're trying to do here. I get it.
Wow.
I know you're trying to keep me small. I know you're trying to trip me up, but I'm going to go on that stage confidently and do what I love doing because that is what I came here to do, and just remove it from my own awareness. It's still there in my head, but I'm
Mhm.
not letting it control my thoughts. And that is where the distance is really important because you don't let that voice control your thoughts. You control your thoughts.
You don't believe that voice is you. You
No,
you are separating it from yourself.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
It is there to create a false narrative. That is what its purpose is. But if that narrative is false, why do you want to believe it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No,
crazy when you actually think about it. And this is a lot of what I do. I teach people to think differently, right?
they're like,
Right. And then practicing a tool like that is so cool because you really do start to build this relationship where you realize that is not who you are. And that voice has not served you. And,
right.
and so what does serve you is going after the things that you want in your life, creating the thoughts and following the thoughts that you actually want to have.
Yes. I'm gonna mess it up. And my dad said something. I mean, growing up was like, your emotions need to be the little soldiers and you're the general. Instead of them telling you what to do, you tell them what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and your thoughts create emotions, right?
Yeah.
So that's really important because the
Yeah.
thoughts that you follow are essentially making up the energy that you exude. And
Right.
so if you're having a lot of, and we all have dark thoughts, we all have heavy thoughts, they're not ever going to go away. But if you're following those and you're creating more of them, and then you start to feel the weight of those, that's what other people experience in you. And
Yeah.
that's not what you want, right? Like
Right.
that's not the level you want to be kind of vibing on or attracting on.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Yeah. I mean, again, you can know exactly how you want to be, but sometimes it seems like the reality, you know, of the situation. I mean, just there's been times where I feel that I'm being very anxious. I'm starting a new business and, I'll be very anxious. And it's like, what is it that I actually am scared of? And then there's me in a cardboard box and I'm all, well, that's a little extreme.
Funny you say that because my husband joined my business last year and he left a very long-term successful senior executive,
Both of you left the corporate world. It's
yeah,
scary. Yeah.
me many years ago. He just did it. But, the first few months that he was in his new role, I realized that he still had this like rigidity about him. And I could feel it. And it was like this kind of weird tension, not between us, but in him, where
Hmm.
I could sense that he was like battling with something in his heart and his mind. Like I could feel it. So I said to him one day, do you realize that in that rigidity, like your lack of flexibility within yourself, that you're actually pushing away what you want? You're not, you might think you're working hard and you're tense
Right. That's
because
what,
you're
that's what I was going
gripping
to
so
say.
tight, you're going to make things happen.
Right.
When in reality, you are getting further away from those things that you want to make happen. And it sounds so contradictory, but it's going back to what I said about kind of ritualizing your life and fitting things in that are important to you. The
Hmm.
more that you create space within yourself, the more you create space within your life, the more room there is, the more space there is for things to come in that you want to attract, that you want to come in. And
Yeah.
then it gets easier to take action from there too.
Yeah. Now I'm actually reading a little book about the magic of tidying up your house, and I'm all, that's good stuff. I'm going
Yes,
to do that.
urge, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. It's like, I mean, really, Jen, it's been 5 years. I'm all, but if I ever go to an 80s party and I also need to go golfing after that, this is a perfect outfit. I'm just like
Yeah,
ridiculous. It's like,
totally.
let's get rid of it and make space. And if that day ever comes, I think you can. buy it again or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it certainly is interesting, and you do realize that some of that comes from your parents. I mean, my mother grew up poor, and I can just see that, she really, just the attachment that people have to things, and you see that growing up, and so it really is, you realize that we're never really taught how to manage our thoughts, and so many of us, I mean, just get to a place that it's just like, it's so simple, it is so difficult. I mean, it's just a wild west up there sometimes. I'm like, all right, everyone one at a time, okay? I mean, Erica's got a whole crew in my head. I'm all right, who so that's good. I need another pack. I need another pack. You can just they're the positive posse or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll
A
have to
friend of
work on it.
mine, a friend of mine calls it the itty bitty shitty committee. And
I love that. I love that because it's like you're so, yeah, and you're also not taking it seriously. So, I mean, that's so good because again, it's sometimes I find myself anxious and I'm like, all right, let's go down that whole road. And I'm like, all right, well, I think you're being a little dramatic. But a lot of times we won't even do that. It's just you just stay in anxious and not, why do
right.
I feel this way?
Hmm.
And I bet you help people yeah, discover that all the time.
Give your brand a boost with Jen's free guide, 3 steps to boost your leadership marketing and brand awareness. Grab the link in the show notes and subscribe to the newsletter.
When I can tell that I could talk to you just forever, but to give listeners kind of, something to take away. Someone's out there, they're feeling stuck. I mean, maybe whether it's their career or, relationships, like it's, yeah, I hear that a lot. It's so interesting because it's like the married people and they want freedom, and then people have freedom want to be, yeah, so it's just we're a funny lot like that. But in any case, whether they're stuck in whatever they are, what would you say is like a good couple next steps besides obviously getting your help? And I want you to let us know how people that want your help, because I truly believe in the power of coaching. I mean, it's just we're just too close to things sometimes. But what is a good takeaway for when someone realizes I got some stinking thinking?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually writing a book that will be out in early September. So I'm going through the editing phase right now for it to be published in
So
early
exciting.
September.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And there's so much good stuff in there to really help people with this inside out transformation and to live better lives, and I'm not saying live a healthier life or, live a life that is the one that you absolutely love every day. What I'm saying is to transform your life. And you do that by transforming the inside first,
You have
right?
to. Yeah.
Exactly. And like the health comes with that. And the mindset shift comes with that. And, maybe rearranging your relationships comes with that. And so all those things they don't happen in and of themselves. They happen because there's a deeper desire
Right.
to change. And so the book is all about empowering yourself and how, like, what is the number one thing you can do to empower yourself? You tell yourself that you can fit in things important to you. That's it. So every day when you wake
Mhm.
up, just pick one thing. What is one thing that is important to you? One thing that I did when I was first kind of starting this commitment to myself, I decided that I wanted to start to make my coffee. I didn't want to just jump into my routine
Hmm.
of take a shower at 6:15, wait for the
God,
nanny to
you're up
arrive.
early.
Well, and I used to get up even earlier than that, but I didn't want to just,
Right.
wait for the nanny to arrive and then hit Starbucks on my way to the office and then commute to the office, which was an hour each way back then. And I lived that routine that just felt so monotonous. It felt like Groundhog's Day every day. So I thought to myself, you know what? I enjoy the experience of coffee, but it's actually not enjoyable when I'm just grabbing it and going. Like it's just something I did. It was just a routine.
Sure.
Took no thought. It took no reflection. So making my coffee became an experience. It was no longer just about drinking it. It was about the experience of making it and then sitting down to just enjoy it for a little bit, few
That's
minutes.
really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it could be something that small, or it could be something like, reading 20 pages of a book or meditating or, going outside for a walk or whatever it is. But pick something and start to empower yourself by saying, this is my non-negotiable and I can fit this in because it's very important to me.
Yeah, no, I really like that. It's like in part, you're seeing yourself as someone different. You're seeing yourself as worthy of the things that you want. It reminds me, I don't know where I heard it because too much information, but someone was saying to be a butler for yourself as much as you can. And it reminded me of that a little bit. It's like, I like my coffee beans ground right before they go. I mean, it's just, yeah, I have a little process for my coffee too. And yeah, no, I'm gonna have to, put more. I mean, I know exactly how I like it. I couldn't get coffee at Starbucks if I wanted to. I'd be like, what is this? Where's my monk fruit? Yeah.
Right. Well, and even just looking at your calendar, whether it's the night before or it's the morning of, and like jumping into your phone, looking at your calendar,
Right.
and you see all these appointments, and it's just that in and of itself, it is so rigid and it feels so inflexible. So when you look at that and you just get those anxious thoughts going right away, it's like once you get sucked into that day, it's hard to bounce back from that, right? Like your level of resilience just kind of falls out the window.
Right.
So setting yourself up in the morning, or for some people, they just want to do it before they go to bed, whatever works for you.
Mhm.
But setting yourself up for what success feels like to you in a given day, that's important because that's your power. If you give your
Absolutely.
power away to everything out here, I mean, that's a recipe for disaster.
Plan your day or your day will plan you. Honestly, many days my my day plans me. I'm all, what's happening? But no, it is those days. I mean, I like to do it on Sunday night if I can get everything like all nice and buttoned up. But if one thing happens, like the Super Bowl, forget about it. But yeah, it's so nice to come into Monday and it's like, "Ah, my things are scheduled." Yes, I know exactly. And so that is, and it is. It's thinking that it's seeing yourself as a different person, so now you're acting as a different person. I
Yeah.
love it, Erin. So in addition to the book coming out, and then I know you do speaking engagements, which I'm sure are just amazing. That sounds so interesting. I'm sure people will just really leave there energized. But you also do group coaching, so for people that can't see you and don't want to wait until September, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I have a private program I created that's a cohort called Authentically You. So it's a virtual program. It's for professionals and leaders all over the United States and Canada. And
Okay.
that's just a time zone thing that it's attracted people in the US and Canada. I've been running this now. I'm in my 11th cohort that starts in April. So it runs
Nice.
April and October. I take
So were
14,
these corporate people and entrepreneurs?
yes, they
Okay.
are. Yep.
Great.
And I take 14 per cohort. So it's an application process. And I'd like to get to know people and why they're interested in it. And then the transformation that occurs is it's pretty profound. I mean, I get notes from people all the time. There's been 150 that have gone through it so far. And the notes I get, whether it's on LinkedIn or they send me an email or a text message or a WhatsApp, like it's pretty cool. People have relationship changes they've wanted forever, whether they leave the marriage or they find the partner or whatever. They get the job above the job that they actually thought they were going for.
Nice.
They finally create the business they always wanted to. I mean, just really cool things happen because people get out of their own way finally. And that's the beauty of that kind of coaching where you're in a very safe container. You're vulnerable and transparent, but you're working on yourself and you can see yourself in other people who are
Right.
going through similar experiences. And it's funny, situations for everyone look different. The people in their lives look different, but the underlying fundamental emotions and
Right.
thoughts that are taking place are very similar. It's
Right.
it's
And
almost
sometimes,
eerie sometimes.
yeah, there's not a lot of places. I mean, as someone that works online, I find that it is difficult otherwise to have a community. If you work online, it's like I don't have any, right? I don't have any friends that you know what I'm saying? Like, church friends or what people that I just happen to already know. I don't know any of them that are doing what I'm doing. So any friends that are doing what I'm doing are online, they're virtual. And what a great opportunity for them to continue to have their own community when they're in a group like that.
It's so true. Like I see yeah, every cohort has a WhatsApp group and I see so many of them forming these really amazing relationships, and they go on to do business together and refer to each other and all these cool things, which is just so fun to see. And then, outside of that private program that I run, which is, application based, I do tons of leadership coaching directly with companies. So teams will
Nice.
bring me in to do that work with them. And that typically is a minimum of 6 months, because we move a little slower in the corporate setting. You just kind of have to.
Really? I
Yeah,
hadn't noticed.
I know, right? It's just the way it is. And I spent so many of my years in corporate, and it moves slower, but it's also, the big thing is accountability.
Mhm.
And so, being able to hold people accountable on a monthly basis is a big part of moving through that project together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean yeah, 100% true. I know. It's amazing how much people need that. Even us that think that we're lone rangers. It's just yeah, yeah, just I can't I don't know a good enough word for, because I mean that's what life is all about, right? I mean, what do they say? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go long, go together, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, something like I have all these little quips rolling around in my head.
Yes, you
My
do.
dad's
You
old
love the
fashioned
quote.
sayings. Yeah, exactly. So, is there anything that I didn't ask you about that I should have that you want to tell me about?
No, I think you're good. Yeah. I
Okay.
think
No,
we
I think people really got some good information here. I mean, I think it's a really good, you know, there's I don't think there's, really, it's not necessarily that it's new, necessarily brand new information. It's a lot of stuff that we already know, but we just, we need someone else to tell it to us. We need to hear it in a certain way. I love that you've just been dedicated to this for so long, and, authenticity. I saw some other video that was talking about how it vibrates even higher than love, whatever that means. But the point, just that, being able, because it's like, what's the point of being loved if you're not being loved for who you really are? It's like, what's that
very
all
true.
about?
Very
Yeah.
true.
So thank you so much for giving me your time. I've so
Thank you.
enjoyed, yeah, chatting with you and getting to know you. And I can't wait for your book to come out. That's really exciting. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm all about authenticity, so I think that'll be really great.
Yeah, it'll be, I'm like so pumped for it. I'll be sharing a whole lot. I have a newsletter. Did you just sign up for that? I thought I saw your email.
I did sign up for your newsletter.
So I send a newsletter twice a month that's like kind of just more thoughtful and a little bit about, like, whatever podcast episode I have coming out. And then once a month now, I send a personal newsletter that's about the book writing, editing, publishing
Okay, okay.
process. So it's kind of fun because people are loving just like being a part of that journey. Because
Yes,
everyone can say like, "Oh, I know someone writing a book," but they don't talk about that. What's the story there? But
right.
then you say, "Oh, I know someone who's writing a book who just shared this like hilarious thing that happened with her editor." It's like,
Yes.
that's the story.
It so is, because it's not until you start doing something that you're just like, how come no one told me about this? Yeah, no. And I love that, whether it's podcasting or whatever, it does feel like we are moving. Well, I guess you attract whatever you're interested in, but it does seem like our society is moving to more towards authenticity, especially with the, AI coming out. It's like, okay, what makes us human? And yeah, just fascinating stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And if you want to know more about Erin Coupe and Authentically EC, just check the links down below. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Erin.
That's a wrap for the Leader's Edge with Jen. Subscribe, share, and visit the show notes for the links mentioned. Stay bold, stay sharp, and don't lose your edge.